62 personnel who are here under the able leadership of our team leader, Air Commodore E.A. Ola, who is also the director, Department of Air Warfare, Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Also in our team this morning is the Chief Instructor, Foxtrot Division, Group Captain E.A. Ogiriki. CI, sir. May I request you stand for recognition? So we also have 8 members of directing staff and 51 students with 2 supporting staff. Permit me at this point to quickly introduce the members of directing staff, sir. So we have Group Captain A. Ekpo. Group Captain O.B. Ogundana. Group Captain O.M. Makinde. Correction, is a wing commander, so I'm aspiring into the future, sir. We have Wing Commander A.M. NAIA and Wing Commander I.T. Matu. So please permit me to inform you that we have in our midst a member of directing staff from Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College who is on exchange program to Nigeria, Wing Commander F.M. Amedi. So among the 51 students that I earlier notified you of comprises 45 students from the Nigerian Air Force. May the Air Force officers please rise. Please sit. Our program in the Armed Forces Command and Staff College also involves training from members of departments, and ministries and agencies. And we have today a student from the Nigerian Defense College. We have another student from Defense Intelligence Agency. We also have a student from Department of State Security Services. With us also is a student from the Federal Road Safety Corps. We have a student also from the Nigerian Customs Service. So also among us is an international student from the Republic of Congo. Thank you, sir, for receiving us into your midst this morning, and I will humbly request our team leader to make a brief remark.
The Regional General Manager, in the person of Mr. Kabir Yusuf Mohammed, other senior management staff present, Chief Instructor, members of directing staff, students of senior course 45, other staff of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria. Good morning. As earlier introduced, I am Air Commodore E.A. Ola, the Director, Department of Air Warfare of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Let me just reiterate that this visit this morning is not necessarily like being organized necessarily by the Nigerian Air Force, but actually organized by the college, and that is the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, which is one of our training institutions under the Defense Headquarters. I want to start by saying a big thank you, sir, for honoring our invitation to visit your establishment. considering the kind of work you do here, I was actually surprised that you even had time to actually grant us audience. So we are really appreciative of the fact that we are actually able to visit your establishment. Our reason for this visit, the students that you are seeing before you are, as we earlier mentioned, are students of Senior Course 45. They are part and parcel of the students in the college, which are actually made up of Army, Navy, and Air Force students. Presently, they are in their third term. We run 5 terms in the college for the Senior Course program. And 2 of those terms are actually for single service. And that is why all the students you are seeing before you right now are from the Air Force. In the first term is tri-service. That means that they all come together to study. And the 4th and the 5th term is also a tri-service term. So the 2nd and 3rd term is organic to the Air Force, and that is why all of them are in the Air Force. And as part of their package, for the 3rd term, we have what we call the management package, which is actually to expose students to the principles of management in organizations. We visited yesterday 011 Presidential Air Fleet, and as well as 307 Executive Airlift Group, as part of the military, to look at how the principles of management are being practiced in those organizations. And today, we are visiting your establishment. And tomorrow, we'll be visiting NAMA, also to look at the way they also handle or they conduct themselves as it relates to the principles of management. It is known to everybody that when you talk about the principles of management, they are ideal situations, really. You know, you look at the skill set and you look at a number of things, whether the manpower actually meets the kind of office, you know, that is being, that a particular action is being carried out, basically. So we know that organizations also, to an extent, try to compromise on some things as much as possible in order to come up with something optimal at the end of the day. And one of the reasons why the students are here is just look at the way you go about your activities and whether they actually are working with the ideal situation. And if not, what are the compromises you make to make sure that you actually work optimally? And that is basically why we are here this morning. And in addition, sir, to what you said also, you know, as being in the Air Force as well, we appreciate what you do here. And our work is virtually almost the same. So to an extent, it's also a means of collaboration as well. I can put it that way, you know, to see what you do. And to an extent also in what way the Air Force can actually come in to actually assist you in your activities. So in a nutshell, that is why we are here. And once again, I want to say a big thank you also for granting us audience. And we look forward to taking a tour of your activities and see the way you run things here. Once again, thank you and God bless.
Thank you once again. I want to apologize on behalf of myself for not introducing the representative of the International Terminal Manager, Mr. Farouk Issa Fege, and the representative of the Airport Chief of Security, Mr. Olaguju Oladipo, AGM. Next on the list is a briefing for the Senior Course 45 students on the roles and organization of fund by the Regional General Manager and Airport Manager, Mr. Kabiru.
Good morning once again, and welcome. Waiting for him to help me out so that I will read from the screen. Okay. What we'll be presenting to you might be a little bit lengthy, but I will make sure I cut it short in order to save a lot of time. Part of the opening document is just showing the establishment of FAN, quoting the Decree 45, and then that was as at 1978, then the Civil Aviation Reform of 1995, the laws of the Federation of 2004, as well as the repealed Act of 18th November 2022 that established FAN. Amongst the principal responsibilities of FAN includes to develop, provide and maintain at all airports all necessary services and facilities for the safe, orderly, expeditious and economic operation of air transport. It's also to provide adequate facilities and personnel for effective security at all airports. Provide conducive environment under which passengers and goods will be carried by air and under which aircraft will be used for other gainful purposes, and for prohibiting the carriage by air of goods of such classes as may be prescribed. Further objectives of FAN includes the provision of accommodation and other facilities for the effective handling of passengers and freight, carrying out at airports such economic and commercial activities that are relevant to air transport, which may be carried out without prejudice to the functions of the authority. It is also to charge for services provided by the authority at airports. FAN offers on the land car park, shops, offices and access roads. On the air side, we have the runways, the taxiways, the fire services, water supply, power supply, lighting, apron pavements, and its control. The terminal building, which is meant to provide facilities for arriving and departing passengers, lounges, check-in counters, airline offices, information desks, check-in counters, offices for banks, government agencies, and services that will ensure maximum comfort for passengers while waiting for their flights. It is also to provide safety of aircraft and passengers at airports. These statutory provisions make it mandatory for FAN to ensure comfort, security, and safety of persons, goods, vehicles, and equipment at all airports. This is the list of airports under the management of FAN. There are about 23 currently, and some other state governments that have already constructed their own airports are also ready to cede their airports to the federal government, while the federal government itself is also working on the concessioning of about 4 of the international airports. This map shows the location of the airports across the country. Then the management structure of FAN. FAN is led by the Managing Director, Chief Executive, and currently we have Captain Rabiu Hamisuya Dudu, IAP, that is our current Managing Director. Working with him, our directorates as listed: Airport Operations, where we have Captain Mukhtar Yusuf Muye; Aviation Security Services, we have Group Captain USA Sadiq; Engineering Services has Engineer Ali Maina; Finance has Mrs. Oni, I'm not sure I called the name rightly, while the Commercial and Business Development has Alaji Rafindadi Sadiq. Under the Managing Director, you have the Legal Services and the Company Secretary. We also have a General Manager in charge of planning, the Internal Audit, the Corporate Affairs, Safety Services, Information and Communication Technology, as well as Procurement. These units and departments, as they are at the headquarters, are somewhat a little bit duplicated at the airport level. At the airport level, you have what we have here at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, is apart from being the airport manager, you have the regional general manager in charge of North Central. North Central includes airports that are in Jos, Mina, Makurdi, Bauchi, Kaduna. I think Gombe used to report to Bauchi. So as it currently is, Gombe is under Bauchi, and Bauchi also reports to Abuja. I think this, including Zaria, that's the training ground for UNCAT. We have some personnel that are also there. So they are also reporting to the North Central Zone. Nasarawa, that is also ready to seed its own airports to fund, is also under this our current zone. Now, as I said earlier, most of what you have under the managing director, you have a somewhat replica at the airport level. At the airport level, almost all the departments are replicated. So apart from the airport manager, you have the head of operations, the safety manager, you have the medical directorate. I think the medical area somewhere under, there is also a general manager in charge of our medicals. Our medicals are very important because we have firemen, we have aviation security personnel, as well as operations. In the normal situations, these officers must be certified to be healthy enough to be carrying out the kind of jobs they do, particularly those in aviation security and those in fire. So this structure, I'm taking a little time to speak on the structure, considering the fact that your visit is meant on issues of leadership and management. Most of the remaining part of the presentation are mostly on activities, which you can see, just slide on a little. Underneath here, you will see agencies. I'll go back to what I started talking about on the issue of the management and the leadership structure. These are agencies and go back to the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the Federal Ministry of Aviation, which happens to be the supervising ministry. Our own managing director reports to the minister, sometimes directly, but a lot of times through the permanent secretary. That happens to be the accounting officer of the organization. The Civil Aviation Authority, as the regulator of the industry, almost everything we do in the airport has to be certified by the NCAA. We want to start construction anywhere within the airport, you need to invite them to see that it is in line with the set objectives and then recommended practices. The airspace management, you deal a lot with them, so I don't need to speak to you much about them. However, I need to remind you also that their managing director reports also to the ministry, just like the Director General of the NCAA. The metrology, headed by Director General, also reports to the ministry. The Safety Investigation Bureau, which used to be called the Accident Investigation Bureau, has just recently been renamed and then its scope been expanded. The Port Health Services, even if you're not aware of what they do before, with the recent advent of COVID, even though most of the structures at the airport have been reduced to the barest minimum, you must be aware that Port Health reigned supreme during the COVID. We also have security agencies at the airport, the Military Airport Command, the Presidential Air Fleet, the Immigration, Customs, Police, the DSS, the Plant and Agricultural Quarantine Services, the Drugs Law, etc. Can you move on? No, carry on. Still in the airport, the airlines, the concessionaires, ground handlers, as well as other private security services. The airport has what it called the Airport Security Committee, which is headed by the airport manager, which brings all these other security agencies under the airport manager as the chairman of that security committee, which means whatever discussion that has to be carried out with regards to security in the airport must be chaired by the airport manager. However, when it comes to core security issues that do not affect civil aviation, the Military Airport Command operates with its own military groups. considering the fact that we have the presidential air fleet here, we also have the EAG. So, except when it comes to that core military activity, the Military Airport Command work hand in hand with us at this airport. Can you move on a little further? Slow down. This is just additional information on the regulatory services. The Chicago Convention, which was known as the 1944 Chicago Convention. As you can see, it's through ICAO. Most of the regulations that are governing civil aviation across the globe are guided by ICAO. They have about 19 annexes, and then they mostly hold their meetings, I think, every 3 years in Montreal. And then all the contracting states are members, and the SAPS there stands for Standards and Recommended Practices. Carry on. So this is the regulatory structure. ICAO at the top. The state here is referring to a state like Nigeria. Then you have the IATA that deal with mostly airlines. ACI is for the airports, while the Civil Aviation Authority coordinate all these activities, including those of the ground services providers. Can we move on? For mostly the activities we do in the airport, the Annex 9 talks to us about facilitation. 14, about the aerodrome. That's where specifications of the length, the width, breadth, even the depth itself, that's where you will find that. Even the naming of the runways, considering the orientation, you find it under the aerodrome. The Annex 17 speaks about security, what you can and what you cannot do when it comes to security inside the airports. Annex 18 has to do with safe transport of dangerous goods by air. While the Annex 19, which is the last one, is the safety management system. We picked this specifically because they are the key references of what we do in the airport. The rest are other areas that we don't have to delve into now, so that we move on straight to why we're here. These are just explanatory information on IATA. Then you can see EGOM under the IATA Ground Operations Manual, the Aircraft Handling Manual, Standards and Recommended Practices. Move on. The Airport Council, which is, like I mentioned to you, is mostly for airports. Then the ACI key references are the Emergency Preparedness and Contingency Planning Handbook. Mostly this emergency preparedness are things we do in collaboration with the military and all other security agencies in the airport. The apron marking and science book, then the safety handbook itself. Move on. Now the NCAA, I mentioned that everything we do in the airport is regulated by the NCAA. That includes, apart from we as aerodrome operators, all the airlines, all the ground handlers. You can see that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Regulation 2012 Volume 2, Part 12.6.18 require that all aerodromes establish and implement procedures for safe and orderly access operations, including provisions and identifying consequences of non-compliance with procedures. So when the aerodrome operator does not comply with certain procedures, the regulator is expected to met out disciplinary measures. Can we move on? Okay. Now, since the advent of FAN, Nigerian Air Force have been having a symbiotic and complementary partnership. Being the sole managers of all airport lands, for which I know anytime we give a little land to the Nigerian Air Force, we wake up tomorrow and it has expanded. According to the Civil Aviation Convention, an airport must have airport security committee. I touched that a little earlier, and the airport security committee, the standard 323, stated that contracting state shall ensure that an airport security committee at each airport serving civil aviation is established to assist the authority mentioned under 322 in its role of coordinating the implementation of security controls and procedures as specific. I've also mentioned that the Airport Security Committee is headed by the airport manager and it coordinates the implementation of the National Civil Aviation Program. Move on. The picture you're seeing here is that of a simulation exercise we had on emergency situation at the airport. And when this exercise held, it was in collaboration with the Nigeria Air Force. Was this Abuja here or Lagos? But we had this in Lagos, and the simulation exercise was to simulate a terrorist attack on the airport. And I think the then Chief of Air Staff, Sadiq, was, yeah, because I was part of the exercise then. So these are part of the collaborations, and move on. Okay, two contradicting statements. Although FAN and Abuja Airport enjoys good working relationship with the Military Airport Command, then they said the refusal of some NAF personnel to follow rules governing operations at civil airports impacts this relationship. I call them contradicting because, yes, there is good working relationship. Contradicting because where there is good working relationship, we will expect that there will be seamless operation, and then there will hardly be anybody refusing to do something. But as human beings, no matter how much you try, there are certain elements that will create one friction or another. So much as it's sometimes an issue, but we've always been finding ways to manage these situations. That's why the following statement mentioned that in spite of this, we continue to collaborate, communicate, and support each other to keep the airports safe and secure. Move on. Aviation safety is that effort that is always taken to ensure airplanes are free from factors. Safety is the highest priority. All this normal grammar that we say, but we must ensure that all that we say, even if we can't get everything right, the ICAO recommendation is that you must be able to get the minimum level of acceptable safety and security. What's an airplane? Safety, the repositioning of carry-on. This is just airside conduct, personal behavior, way of acting, bearing of arms, or deportment as executed by a person or group of persons, airport permits. Airport permits are meant to regulate movement on the airside. The use of reflective jackets, use of safety boots were required. Carry on. And then all the permits, particularly the ODC, all persons operating inside the airport are expected to carry an on-duty card. And that on-duty card must be worn in the right manner. Just like you can see, enclose the access permit on-duty card in a pouch that cover. Do not put it inside anything that will cover the details. And you have to display it. You can see that the picture here is showing someone having his own ODC just by his trouser belt. So if you have look at it, you need to bend to look at it and see it very well. But once it's on his chest or at the chest level, the whole idea is as the person is approaching, you should be able to know whether his accreditation is valid, whether it's expired, or the area he wants to enter is an acceptable area that is covered by that his ODC. Move on. These are just information based on the ODC. how it should not be worn, how the right way to wear it, and then the responsibilities. And then behind it, it's only FAN that has the right to grant these ODCs. Okay, vehicles also into the airside must carry the vehicle airside permit. We do issue temporary passes just for a few days, weeks, or a few months. We also have the normal ones that have a validity of 1 year. For a vehicle to be granted this, we must also conduct tests, safety tests on those vehicles. We do that through the use of our own officers that are in charge of mechanical, electrical, safety, as well as operations. Not just that, even the driver of that vehicle must also be trained on airside driving. Airside driving training is crucial to safety at the airports. This is to avoid incidents and accidents. We still have those, but then we've been trying so much to ensure that we reduce them to the barest minimum. 55 kilometers per hour on the ramp, while on the perimeter, I think it's 30 kilometers, 45 kilometers. So even if you are conducting perimeter patrol, you cannot drive beyond 45 kilometers per hour. You might be wondering why, with all this runway and pavement, where there are no potholes, and then you will not be allowed to enjoy the rave of your vehicle. It's because of safety. The apron as well as the runway are meant for the aircrafts and aircrafts only. Every other activity that revolves around it is just to serve that aircraft. So it's only the aircraft that is allowed to have the kind of speed it should ordinarily have on the runway only. You might also notice that when the aircraft is taxiing out of the apron, it goes at a snail speed until it gets to the holding point and its takeoff zone. That's when it actually takes the speed it requires to lift. So for that, for you to be able to drive, you must have that permit, which is our own airside driver's license. And in most cases, if anybody breach those rules and regulations governing the driving at the airside, FAN reserves the right to withdraw this license as well. Carry on. Aviation security, you're fully aware of what they do, so I won't waste your time on it. But something interesting, hostage taken on board aircraft or on aerodromes. As much as you are the military, this part of the responsibility is given to the aviation security simply because there are ways and means through which this will be done. But when it gets out of control, like you always know, we have to revert to you. Move on. Carry on. These are all additional information. These are officers on duty, aviation security. The regulations. FAN has oversight and regulates vehicle operation, inspection and audit, emergency response, safety, airfield, storage, restricted areas and access control, environmental management, notifying and reporting. Notifying and reporting is very, very important. Because whatever happens around, if you don't notify the airport authority, there is no way it will take actions to mitigate whatever concerns there are. So a lot of times, some people don't want to notify or report because they are afraid of measures that could be taken. We try to encourage this reporting and also reduce to the barest minimum the level of punitive measures. Reporting is mostly not because we want to punish, no, so that we guard against its next occurrence. Challenges, like the opening statement said, FAN is a microcosm of the country. So whatever challenges you face in the general public as the country also has direct bearing on our own operations. Slow recovery, that's due, because of the economy issue. inadequate budgetary. There is no adequate budget anywhere. Replacement cost of aging and obsolete infrastructure is a general concern. Prevalence of touts, miscreants, and other questionable characters. People want to be where they are not supposed to be. Some of them because they have somebody they need to serve. Brutality, I will say that is not something that has been experienced anymore in our airports. But since those who wrote it added it, I will leave it so that it remains in your memory that yes, our officers used to face this, but not in the most recent. Move on. Domestic air travel disruptions due to terrorist activities. That's in places like Kaduna at one time, in Maiduguri, and a few other places. Excessive political interference is not just fun, it's almost everywhere. Disruption of operations by host communities who feel they have a right to a lot of entitlements. Non-defined airport master plan, that one is an internal concern, but then it also affects some of the things. That's why you see certain structures coming up on areas that they should ordinarily not. Then lack of adequate research. In conclusion, air transport is an international business and highly regulated. ICAO dictates, subject to different national laws. Airports are managed in the same way. And most airports throughout the world are similar. Therefore, it's very important that everyone understand that the airport environment is guiding every action taken. Anything more after this? I think that's all. This is just us trying to blow our trumpet, saying that we are committed to our core values: safety, security, and comfort. And we will continue to distinguish ourselves in the competitive marketplace, except that we don't have much competition. The airports are just mostly monolithic. Meet our stakeholders' expectation, you inclusive, through collaboration and prompt communication, share our goals, track progress, provide status, and update regularly to staff and stakeholders. Anything more? And questions? Yes. Oh, okay, that's fine. So that's right. That's fine. So questions will be after the talk.
The Regional General Manager, ABUJA Air Force, Director, Department of Air Warfare. So for the rest of their program, for members of the team, sir, they have some other things. So they wanted a group photograph to come now before the before the visit. All right, sir. Our students are going to. So students will file out to this car park. That's where we take the photograph, where we come in. Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Director, Department of Air Warfare and Forces Command and Staff College, who's also the team leader of the visiting team from the Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Other heads of departments here present, the Chief Instructor, Foxtrot Division and Forces Command and Staff College, Georgie. Members of directing and administrative staff, students of senior course 45, Department of Air Warfare, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to humbly and warmly welcome you back from the tour of the facilities of this airport. I believe the tour has been far-reaching and has enhanced our knowledge, and also we have been able to get down the areas that require clarification, which we are about to go into now. So it is time for the debrief and the interactive session, and the session shall be handled in the following manner. We decided to make the visit as brief as possible so that you will have time to clear every doubt that you have. So the number of questions for now, I will leave it open to as many students that have doubts to clear. So after the interactive session, I will humbly request the team leader to make a token presentation to our host on behalf of the college. And the presentation of the souvenir will draw to a close today's proceedings. Now to questions from students. I will start from students seated to my left. Yes, scroll in the Ghana. Go ahead with your question. Ghana.
Thank you, sir. I am squadron leader in Ghana. Sir, organizations are often short of adequate manpower and equipment. Of the 7 departments earlier mentioned during the presentation, which of them is not properly manned with an expert? Thank you, sir. When you say not manned by an expert, take the questions first.
First, maybe we'll take the whole question from this side, then you can respond to answer. Next question from the left. Squadron leader Sanoni.
I am squadron leader IJ Tsoni. Sir, from whom does the airport authority receive its orders? As for Gombe, Gombe Airport reports to Bauchi Airport. So can Bauchi Airport independently instruct Gombe to carry out orders without authorization from the higher authority or from whom it receives the order from?
Next.
I am CU Amechi. Sir, I want to know if FAN is understaffed, overstaffed, and the staff strength in relation to performance. Thank you, sir.
Next question. Yes, sir.
So, Squadron Leader Madwemeze, sir. So, in your presentation, you listed several objectives of FAN. We want to know what is the specific, the key objective, what's the key goal of FAN? Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir, you may provide response, sir.
I will start with the manpower. When you say which one is not manned by an expert, I would say to you that at the directorate level of our headquarters, except for the Directorate of Aviation Security that is manned by a retired military officer, all others are directors that were given those appointments based on their previous experiences of where they have worked. Take, for instance, the managing director himself is a pilot. I say he's a pilot because he still flies. But he has done managerial courses and also is a certified international airport professional. In the sense that there are departments that might have more than the various heads of department to tell us what they have as support. Also, it gives you the guiding principles through which that control is expected. Take, for instance, under the Human Resource Department, you have the director, which is a political appointee. Directors in FAN are political appointees. But you can grow up all to be a director, but the moment you get that position of director, you are automatically on your way out. But at the peak of it, it's the general manager, which by civil service nomenclature is supposed to be grade level 17. So you can see that from the managing director at the top, you have the directors who are called mostly executive directors, since they are not civil servants. Underneath them are the general managers. So when I pick HR, which is the human resource, you can start breaking it down to say, okay, under HR, you have general manager training, you have general manager staff welfare, you have general manager medicals, and so on and so forth. And then it goes down and it's expanding and opening up. So, and as such, instructions come from the top and gets down to the minutest of that ladder. I don't know if it gets to what you're talking about. Reporting, we're used to making structures and then we don't back them up in most cases with the requisite literature somewhere. What you must have read is something that was in existence before the breaking of the Ministry of Transportation with that of Aviation. At the beginning of this administration, the Ministry of Transportation, or I would say Ministry of Aviation, was an appendage of the Ministry of Transportation. That was why, as at then, you have the Minister of Transportation and you have Minister of State in charge of aviation. But at the second coming, then it was broken. You now have a Minister of Aviation, not a Minister of State anymore, which now means the Ministry of Transport is on its own, while Ministry of Aviation operates independent of that. So definitely there will be no any conflict of reporting system. The organogram of this regionalization. As I speak with you, I don't have that organogram here because, like I just mentioned, we make policies sometimes, we don't back them up in the way and manner they should ordinarily be. The regionalization was a recent development, and as such, we only know this is how it's supposed to operate, but we don't have it on paper as I speak with you. However, I will be able to still explain it to you as it operates. Now, under the region, there's ABUJA, being the North Central region, which has about 6 airports, like I mentioned earlier. That's Jos, Makurdi, Minna, Kaduna. I mentioned Bauchi, Zaria, and then Gombe, which I also mentioned used to be an appendage of Bauchi. Ordinarily, Gombe is supposed to be in the northeast, but we don't have northeast region, but we have northern region, which is Kano. And Kano takes care of Katsina, Maiduguri, Yola, and Sokoto. So, but you will be wondering, if Yola and Maiduguri will be reporting to Kano, why should Gombe report to Abuja? It's to go by the actual definition. They don't belong to the North Central anymore. I hope that answers that question as well. The number of departments under the managing director. Take for instance the audit. Wherever you have an audit unit, is expected to report directly to the chief executive. So that's why you have that audit department there. The safety manager, if you leave him under any other directorate control, there are tendencies that they might abuse or refuse to do some of the things that are expected of them. So the safety manager is expected to report directly to the chief executive as well. Corporate affairs, the image-making unit of most organizations. The only way to centralize it is to leave it under the chief executive. There are about 6 others more. Which other? Legal. Okay, imagine if legal is under another director. Except if you have a director that will be speaking directly with the chief executive. Otherwise, if it is a general manager, just allow him that leverage to come and have this direct interaction so that you cut off the unnecessary bureaucracy that might come with it. Remind me of another one. Customer service. The customer always wants to be satisfied. And who is better to police the rest than the chief executive? So the chief customer officer of the organization in FAN is also given that leverage to report directly to chief executive officer. You will be wondering, okay, if all of them are going to be reporting to him, then how does he control them? Under the office of the managing director, we have a chief of staff. Apart from his chief of staff, he also has special assistants assigned various responsibilities that follow up with most of these departments and units under his office, just to ensure that at least the reporting line is reduced and then there is free flow of communication within the shortest possible time. I hope that answers this one also. ICAO, as an international civil aviation organization, said that yes, if you want to be given the global recognition that the powers that be are across the globe, it's expected that you will follow most of these standard and regulatory standard recommendations and regulations. But they are not also in any way, they do not have the powers to shut down any airport anywhere. It's just that they can withdraw their accreditation and then you operate at your own risk. I hope this answers your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any other person with question? Scholar Sunday.
Currently the EU Sunday. So at your level as a regional manager, in your absence, who holds fort for you? And if I may ask with due respect, are there any qualifications for the position of regional manager? Thank you, sir.
You've asked your question. Any other question? Yes.
Squadron Leader MM Yerima. So my question has to do with what was earlier asked. You gave example of some departments like the fire and AVSEC, aviation security, that seem to be understaffed, while the other departments, you didn't give us any specific examples, sir. So I would like to crave your indulgence to give us some other departments that are overstaffed, and if possible, give us the staff supervisors ratio to give us idea as to the span of control. Thank you, sir.
Any other doubt? Sorry.
Sam Squadron Leader A.O. Lanre Adekagun. So are there instances, maybe when the managing director or chief executive has had reasons to probably interfere in the activities of the directors, maybe as a way of trying to guide them in the discharge of their duties?
That would be awesome.
Okay. Until now, they are whatever level they get to, but there is no limit. In most cases, it's from level 12, which is mostly a principal airport operations officer. You are qualified to be an airport manager, depending on the size of the airport. But in the most recent years, some of these things changed because we come to a level where we realize management of men and resources cannot be limited to a particular group of people. And as you are growing up in the course of your job, it is expected that you get to a certain level and then you should be able to, at that level, be able to manage people under you. However, even at that, we try to make sure that if you get to the level of being an airport manager, you go for certain leadership trainings. You also need, even if you've not been in airport operations before the time you become an airport manager, you will have to do some crash program courses just to acquaint you with certain expectations as an airport manager. Globally, ICAO and ACI, because of growing concern with the way airports are being managed, introduced a program they call Airport Management Professionals Accreditation Program, AMPAP. The whole essence of that program is to at least acquaint all officers at management level with the knowledge of managing an airport. By the time that program, it's a 3-year program. It takes you through a series of courses, and it takes you across the globe, different countries, whereby you get acquainted with how these airports are managed. When you finish that course, you'll be issued with a certificate that is signed by the Director General of the Airport Council International and the Secretary General of the International Civil Aviation Organization. And that qualification is called the International Airport Professional. That's the IAP. Luckily, I was one of the first 4 people to get that qualified sometimes in 2015. But like I said, you do not have, as it is now, you do not have to have that qualification to be an airport manager, because it is expected that at management level, you are good to manage people and resources under you. On the question about overstaffing, I will not want to say to you, so departments here are overstaffed, but I remember mentioning that I've requested that departments should give me lists of officers that they believe are surplus to their requirements in their various units. Once they do that, I'll be able to know which departments or units are currently overstaffed, and then we'll think of what to do with them as the time comes. Interference of the managing director with directorates. Sometimes what you might be looking at as interference may not necessarily be an interference. It might be an intervention. I might be going astray, believing that what I'm doing in my directorate, department, or unit is what I might be believing is the best way to go. But the managing director, having higher wisdom and wider understanding of the operations of our organizations, I'm sure you'll find yourself in such situations one day or another. So we won't call it interference. We'll only look at it as intervention, which comes time to time. But it's, in most cases, not very often. Not even at directorial level, even at airport level. I can say to you here without fear of being quoted anywhere, since I took over this airport in March last year, I have not had any reason to say that the managing director has interfered in any of the things we're doing in this airport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for those enriching and rewarding responses that the student has received. Will you please give the RGM another round of applause? The RGM, sir,
I want to humbly inform you that when we have visits of this nature, one of the students who are the major beneficiaries of the visit are called upon to appreciate our host on behalf of the college in the way of giving a vote of thanks. So, sir, to do that this morning on behalf of the college is Skoronida Sounding. Skoronida Sounding. The Regional General Manager, North Central, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and Airport Manager, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, Mr. Kabir Yusuf Muhammad, the team leader, Director, Department of Air Welfare, Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, the Chief Instructor, Frostford Division, Principal Staff of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, distinguished members of directing staff, students of Senior Course 45, ladies and gentlemen, I am Squadron Leader IJ Tsoni. For the past 2 hours, 30 minutes thereabout, we have received a presentation on the organization and rules of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria. We are also taken on a guided tour of facilities for the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The presentation and tour of facilities has broadened our knowledge on the rules and organization of the Federal Airport Authority Nigeria and the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Additionally, we were informed that the core values of the Federal Airport Authority Nigeria are safety, security, and comfort. We now have a better understanding on the procedures for both international departure and arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. This knowledge will be beneficial to us, the students, in preparation of the African Study Tour scheduled to take place in April this year. The interactive session have also further availed us the opportunity to clear our doubts while you provided us with requisite response. Sir, I assure you that the knowledge gained from the presentation and tour of facilities will aid our research efforts and will also put to good use while in our stay in the college and as well as our future endeavors. On this note, sir, on behalf of the Commandant, staff and students of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, I thank you most sincerely for sparing time to receive us today, despite your operational and administrative engagements. It is hoped that when next the college requires your assistance in similar capacity, you will oblige. Once again, sir, thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Squadron Dasani. So as it is customary in the college that whenever we visit a place like this, and we have been well entertained and briefed the way you did, that we leave a token to remind you, sir, that at this time of the year, students of Senior Course 45 Armed Forces Command and Staff College visited this organization. So, sir, may I humbly and respectfully invite the team leader to please make some token presentations. The team leader, sir.
I want to request that we please give our host another round of applause. I was particularly impressed by the tour of your facility, and the way you took us was almost as if we've known each other for years. So I actually appreciate that. And from the questions raised, or the questions elicited from the students, They actually showed that they actually had a lovely time in your establishment, because for such questions to have arisen, that means that they must have seen a lot, and that there was a lot of things that they actually wanted to find out from you. I'm sure if you had even given more room for questions to be asked, I'm sure they will still continue. Is that not true? So, so once again, we just want to say a very big thank you for receiving us and the warm reception we received on arrival. And on behalf of the Commandant of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, staff and students of Senior Course 45, we want to make this presentation to you as a reminder that students of Senior Course 45 actually passed through your establishment. So once again, thank you, sir.
So in the course of the liaison and organization of this visit, we had Mr. Thomas, who has been of immense assistance to facilitate this. So we have a token presentation for Mr. Thomas Adam.
As such, please. International Airport Abuja receives August visitors in January like this. So it is our own pleasure to present to you as well. On behalf of staff and management of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Abuja, we present this to you as our own way of saying thank you very much. Also, quite recently we celebrated 40th anniversary of this airport itself. So I have a little, just a cup and a t-shirt for you. And we have one each for all the students. So they will be picking their own on their way.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate. With those presentations, we have come to the end of this visit. Thank you and God bless you, sir.